Hello Physical Fiends, it is Jordan here with a nice video looking at all the upcoming imports on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 that you may want to keep an eye on. These are physical releases in Japan and other Asian regions that are only releasing there that we know of, and will play in English unless otherwise stated. As always, keep in mind, a Western physical could be announced at any point for any of the games. Let's take a look. Cassette Boy is releasing on the 30th of April, and at a glance this looks like a wannabe Game Boy game, but it is way more than that. You wouldn't be able to stick this game on that console. It's 3D, and you move the camera around to make what is a nice puzzle game with action RPG elements, at least that's what it labels itself. It has decent reviews without going overboard. Perennial Dusk Kinsenka is releasing April 30th as well, and this is a kinetic visual novel from Frontwing. Quite a lengthy one for the kinetic subgenre, more than 20 hours, and it is a fairly highly rated affair that's designed to make you cry. A dark, emotional story, and it is arriving in a standard edition, as well as a very, very expensive collector's edition. Love a Kiss Endless Memories Nintendo Switch 2 edition is going to be an import exclusive on Nintendo Switch 2, on a proper cartridge. The Switch version was also an import exclusive from last year, but the Switch 2 edition promises better performance, more subjects on screen at once during photo sessions, and of course, mouse controls for extra precision. A photography game mixed with a dating sim visual novel thing going on, and it will play in English, and it will be the best way to play it when it releases April the 30th. Dear Mirror Flower is, in my opinion, going to be a very low-key import release when it comes out in Japan April 30th. It is a fairly unremarkable visual novel, a short one at that, like 6 hours, and it is fairly mediocre in its reception when it released digitally. But if you want it, or you want to import any of the other games in this video, and you want to support me and my work at the same time, then you can find all the games that I've linked down below in the description and pinned comment. You can pre-order from PlayAsia, where if you click my link, you can get 5% off with my code Jordan2026, at least for the time being. I don't know what's going to happen to the code after April, and you must click my link first. If you don't click my link, you can't use the code. Or you can pre-order many of these games from VGP as well, who are a Canadian company with free worldwide shipping on orders over 75 Canadian bucks, like 55 American dollars, not that much. Any purchase made helps support me in the best way possible. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Idol Devils Ultimate Edition is a fairly recent physical announcement, but it is from Leoful, so it's almost out already. Releasing exclusively in Southeast Asia on April 30th, this is an idol game, a genre I don't really have much experience with, but when it's got wobbly anime women front and center, I will admit I've started to consider taking up the genre. This is the Ultimate Edition, so it contains all the DLC characters who do whatever they do. It's actually got really good reviews and lots of playtime. Söldner-X Complete Collection is finally coming May the 14th. This long-delayed physical release seems to have finally got its solid date. It feels like the wait has been almost 2 years, probably less than that, but yeah, it is a double pack of shmups, Euro shmups as they are labeled, well made from what I've heard, and you can pick this up in either its standard edition or collector's edition, and it is a PlayAsia exclusive. Terra Memoria, a quick mention to this, which is releasing in Japan on May the 21st. This already released in Asian regions, and it did get a very limited print thanks to super rare games in Europe. But I think this import is much more accessible and a much more affordable way to pick it up. Psyvariar 3 is releasing in Japan May 21st, although I personally think that it is likely to get a Western physical release. I mean, if Red Art Games don't do it in some capacity, I might as well give up this channel. It means I know nothing. But this Japanese release is going to be on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 as a proper cartridge, and it will play in English just in case Red Art Games don't do it in some sort of alternative universe. Lollipop Chainsaw RePOP Nintendo Switch 2 edition is releasing physically on Nintendo Switch 2 on May 28th, a proper cartridge. Now, Limited Run did take pre-orders for this in North America, but if you missed that, or you want this cheaper option, like the more available option with less censored cover art, then this will be the next best way to go. This cult schlocky action game will hopefully perform much nicer on Switch 2, and I personally am looking forward to it. Days Collection, Akiba Heroines. This is releasing on June 11th, and this is following hotly in the footsteps of the Fantasy Tavern trilogy. That was a big import, like so far this year, and this one should be at least equal to that, even if the marketing isn't as solid here. Here you get Trouble Days, Nin Nin Days, and Kokoro Days. 3 Soshi visual novels obviously not including all the H stuff that is in the PC release, that would never be allowed. But each of these has a nicely themed lady coming into one's life, a demon, a ninja, a knight, each of whom will make you blush immensely. The physical release has a Day 1 edition for the English Asian physical release that comes with some rather saucy art cards and a very nice cover sleeve. The Fantasy Tavern one for this on PlayAsia sold out very quickly. Unrailed 2, back on track. Super Rare Games did the original game in Europe, but there's currently no sign of the West getting the second game. It is a party game, at least where you and your friends help a train along, planting the tracks as you go, and taking away hazards, gathering resources, things like that. A bit like Overcooked, where things can get crazy and overwhelming. It's coming in a standard and collector's edition on June the 11th. Now, before we get into the latter half of this video, if you are new here, then do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button. It will be the best thing you do today. Not only will you get all the news on all the physical goodness, but the bigger this channel is, the more publishers will pay attention to the demand for physical media. Do your bit and subscribe. Let them pay attention. Dark Auction Nintendo Switch 2 edition is releasing on June the 11th. Following on from the original Switch release, this promises better resolution and better performance. Not much difference really if you already imported that Switch version, but nice to see the Switch 2 get another proper physical release. inKONBINI, one store, many stories. Now this is getting a physical release on Nintendo Switch 2 in North America. However, if you are purely an OG Switch collector, then you may want to import the Japanese and Asian physical, which is getting an OG Switch physical release in English. This is a cozy adventure sort of game where you manage a convenience store in a rural Japanese town in the 90s. It looks very lovely. Inazuma 11 Victory Road Nintendo Switch 2 edition is going to be a massive import when it arrives on June the 12th, exclusively on Nintendo Switch 2 as a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, meaning it will play on your OG Switch and it will play in English. This is an action RPG with football as the main gameplay. It's very anime, it's very cool as you do like special attacks with over-the-top animations. It's an absolutely massive game. There's like 150, 200 hours worth of game in here. It got critical acclaim and sold bucket loads digitally. Level 5 really coming good again. UsoNatsu, The Summer Romance Bloomed from a Lie, is a visual novel releasing on June the 18th physically in Japan. This is a Yuri VN, a kinetic one, so there's no choices or branching paths. It is a chunky 17 hours, which is kind of long for a kinetic VN, at least from what I've seen. Not as long as Perennial Dusk, but still quite long overall. The reviews are good for it too, and it will have a standard edition as well as a collector's edition. HYKE, Northern Light, or Lights, I don't know how to pronounce it, is a recent import announcement. It's coming physically on June the 25th. It is a top-down action game with some gorgeous pixel art. It's supposed to be a simple game with super quick combat. Some people find it a bit too simple. Others found it to be an excellent game when it released digitally last year. Definitely one to keep an eye on. My Little Puppy is releasing June the 25th. Initially, when I heard the name, I thought it would be some sort of shovelware garbage, when in fact it is a critically acclaimed game about a dog trying to overcome death. It's quirky, funny, and heartwarming with some gameplay mixes to keep things fresh. My daughter has already ordered me to purchase this for her. It's releasing in Japan and Asia, but curiously, the English cover version is a PlayAsia exclusive. This was announced after the other versions, so if you already pre-ordered the Japanese or the Hong Kong release, maybe you want to switch your order to the English one, the English cover version that is, and it's also going to be in a collector's edition as well. MAMIYA, A Shared Illusion of the World's End, another visual novel, slice of life nakige, one designed to make you cry or feel strong emotions. All the tags on VNDB make it sound like it's one for those who enjoy misery in their life, but reviews are pretty good for it, and it's releasing physically on June the 25th in a standard and collector's edition. Kemco RPG Selection Volume 14. I guess potentially won't always be an import exclusive if the Western publisher keeps on trucking, trying to catch up, but in case they start getting a nosebleed when they get this high in the numbers and they back out, then this could remain an exclusive. It will include Astroon Academy, Journey to Kracia, Alter Age, and RPG Spirit Valor. All will play in English and is coming June the 25th. Ganbare Goemon Daishuugo, or Collection, is releasing in Japan on July the 2nd. Now this is a big shame because it does not have English. However, not all of the games included will it be necessary to have English. Sure, some of them are RPGs that will be like completely inaccessible, but on the whole, there's a bunch of action platformers from the 8-bit and 16-bit era that will be pick up and playable for this cult series. Weirdly, despite not having English, this is one of the most anticipated imports this year, and plenty of people have pre-ordered it already, and I do love a good retro collection. I definitely want to get my hands on it. Gunvolt Chronicles Luminous Avenger X 1 and 2 Dual Collection and the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, both of these are releasing on July the 9th. The Switch 2 version is a proper cartridge, so you can pick your poison. This is a double pack of two very nice action platformers. I played the second one, I loved it. Now these games already released individually in Japan on Nintendo Switch and in North America via limited run games, but this double pack upgrades both of the games with tweaks and better production to make them the best that they've ever been. Each console is coming in a standard edition and collector's edition. Culdcept Begins. Now this is one of those cases where the Western publisher is banking on the Nintendo Switch 2 physical and passing on the original Switch. Well, Japan is not. If you are an OG Switch purist and you want a physical release of this awesome looking new entry in the well-loved cult series, then you'll want to import it from Japan or Asia. It will play in English, and yeah, it looks like it could be great. You guys know I don't like card stuff, but this has me hyped. I will probably pick up the Nintendo Switch 2 edition to support the publisher's effort and support proper physical media on that console, but it is nice to have the option. Dreamin Her Boku wa Kanojo no Yume no Miru, sorry. I don't know. The game sounds like a Chocobo song. This is a short visual novel and it is set in the same setting as 7 Days, which is also an import-exclusive visual novel. That's a bit more meatier than this one, which will apparently only last about 6 or 7 hours depending on how fast you read, but length is not everything, as I'm often reassured, because reviews are good for it. It's coming in a standard and limited edition on July the 16th. 70s style robot anime Geppy-X. This is a shmup, and it is one of my most hyped games of the year. Originally a PlayStation 1 title that came on 4 discs. A shmup on 4 discs. How? Well, it's presented like an anime show. Amongst the gameplay, there's loads of animated cutscenes and even commercial breaks to really make it an authentic experience. I'm not sure if the gameplay is anything to write home about, but I love that they did something like this. In the 90s too, like that's prime time 2020s nostalgia bait, yet they were doing it back then. July the 16th in both the standard edition as well as a limited edition. I can't wait. Blue Reflection Quartet is going to be a massive import exclusive when it releases June the 30th in Japan and Asia with an English cover. Here you get 4 JRPGs in one package and in English. Big JRPGs too, from Gust, the developer of the Atelier series. This contains the 2 main games plus gamified versions of the anime and a mobile gacha game. They've turned those stories into RPGs too. I'd love to see how that works out. Magical schoolgirl JRPGs where you fight gods, it's what games were made for. Whether this or Inazuma 11 is going to be the biggest import of the year, it's going to be a good competition between the two. The Prince of Tennis Sweet School Festival, Love 40 and more, and The Prince of Tennis Doki Doki Survival Eternal Passion Tie-Break Game are 2 Otome visual novels originally from the PlayStation 2 era. These are remakes and both will be in English for the first time. No doubt a little bit old school, but I think it's really fascinating for the era, and I'm surprised Konami is including English. I was hoping they'd do it with the Tokimeki Memorial series, like the non-Otome ones. Maybe if people import these, they'll see the numbers and consider it. Anyways, they are both releasing June the 30th, and although in the same series, I don't believe you need to play one or the other first. They have separate things going on, and yeah, Otome fans, definitely be on the lookout for this. Moomintroll Winter's Warmth is releasing on July the 30th, and since the last time I brought it up, it has since been confirmed to be rocking English in its Japanese release. I do wonder if it will get a Western release like the last one eventually did. Honestly, I liked the last one, but this one looks even better. A cozy puzzle adventure game with the wholesome Moomin characters, developed by HYKE Games, which is such a contrast to the actual franchise they're working on. Cotton Rock With You is releasing on Nintendo Switch 2 on August the 6th in Japan on a proper cartridge. A couple of years back, I'd have bet this on getting a Western release, but things seem to have soured between In Games and the Cotton owner. The last one did not get a Western release, at least not yet. Who knows if this will happen? If it's not, well, this Japanese physical release will have English, and it looks like another solid shmup in the lovely Cutem Up series. It's coming in a standard edition, as well as a limited edition, which has an acrylic set, soundtrack CD, and art book. Death End Request Code Z is going to be a big import this year. I'm 100% certain about that. It is a Play Asia exclusive release, and it's a game that is back from the dead. Quite funny considering the theme of the game, but this was supposed to get a Western physical release, but had to be cancelled due to Nintendo of the West not approving of its brutal themes. However, this Asian release is a nice little loophole to have it in English physically on your Nintendo Switch, and to stick your fingers up to Nintendo in the West. It's coming in a standard edition, as well as a 2,000 copy limited edition, half of which have sold out already, and it's coming later this year. Telenet Shooting Collection, Volumes 1 and 2, is another Play Asia exclusive, and one that they are publishing themselves, not in association with East Asia Soft, and for me it is a very interesting release. It is the only way to get part 2 of this series physically in English, and I hope they work with Adia more with retro collections to give something like this with the Valis and the Cosmic Fantasy series. That would be amazing. Imagine Valis Collections Volume 1 to 3 in just on one cartridge. How good would that be? Here though, you get 8 shmups, mostly from the PC Engine, slightly obscure, but I'm very much looking forward to this. I made a video explaining why I think it is quite an important release if you want to watch that after this video, which is almost over. Solitaria is releasing sometime later this year. This is a hand-drawn Metroidvania with Souls-like difficulty, and it has a parry system in the combat, a bit like 9 Souls, which are released physically just this week. It was so harsh, they just patched the game to make it a bit easier. I hate parry systems, I've got to be honest. Sure, it is badass when you pull it off, but there's a lot of waiting around. But reviews for this are very good, and Metroidvania fans should keep their eyes on it. And there we have all the upcoming imports for Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. If you want to pre-order any of them, please do so via the links down below in the description and pinned comment. That helps me ever so much, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.